Wally Show, and with us today we got Jon Acuff. He is the blogger from Stuff Christians Like, which I'm sure you like if you're a Christian. You almost have to then by the name.
It's law.
Yeah, exactly. We got Jon Acuff on with us, and we do this thing called Dear Jon, in case you're new to the show, where we discuss some of the what would you say, the
idiosyncrasies?
Thank you, of our culture, our Christian culture, which I love. So what do you got today for us? Oh, and by the way, if you'd like to ask a question, you can go to allwally.com and you can submit your question for Jon, and maybe we'll get to it.
Well, the first question comes from Amanda Bowers. She says, Dear Jon, why is the waiting on God process so hard when it comes to wanting a boyfriend? And if there's one thing I know about, it's that question.
Boyfriends?
Yeah, waiting on boyfriends. I mean, hit me in my heart, Sweet Valley High. I mean, Babysitter's Club, hello. One of the things that I think about that as far as waiting goes is that sometimes it's hard because God goes quiet in those moments.
Yeah,
and you
definitely
feel like when he's quiet, he's distant. And something I realized about the prodigal son story for the first time, which everybody knows, son goes off, comes back home, gets a party, is that God never talks to the prodigal son. The father figure doesn't say a single word the entire story to the son. He gives him the money, doesn't say anything. The son comes home, he embraces him and talks to the servants and plans a party. So maybe in those quiet moments, it's not that God's mad at you. He's just too busy planning a party.
Oh,
and
okay.
that blows my mind open. But as far as waiting and dating and all that, for me, my favorite thing to do in high school, and I don't know what age Amanda is, high school, college maybe, was to dump whoever I was dating after a retreat.
Now, why would that be?
Well, because on Saturday night of the retreat, which is the Cry Fest portion, they
right,
call it
course.
sloppy agape.
Yes.
The minister says, you got to give something up for God tonight. You got to lay it down right here. And you kind of Google your head and your heart. You go, what can I give up? And you go, bing, my boyfriend. Especially if he didn't come on the retreat. Guys, go on that mission trip. Go on that retreat.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend is going to dump you when she gets home. She's going to fall in love with Mark because he's helping orphans against a backdrop of Africa. Everybody is attractive in that moment. You're at home playing Xbox like a sweaty heathen. Go on that retreat. Go on that mission trip.
I love the fact that you had the option to come back from a retreat and actually dump somebody. Like, that was, I never had a girlfriend in the first place, but you had actual options. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, I was a pastor's kid, and we have our own theme song.
Oh,
and it's a little risque.
Really?
Yeah, Son of a Preacher Man.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's not a Christian song so much.
Your dad really, you really are a preacher's kid?
I'm a PK, and people always go, when they hear that, they go, oh, you must be horrible. And I like to say, I'm not a cop's kid. They had access to firearms.
Right. You, is that weird growing up as a pastor's kid? Is there an expectation? Like, were you you don't seem like you ever had, like, the bad streak in you.
I love that. I tell my dad that because he'll remember the time he got a call from the cops to come pick me up from shoplifting.
Oh,
and he
really?
thought they were calling to sell tickets to the police ball, which I think they stopped doing in the 1920s.
But he still picked up.
Yeah, he thought, hey, maybe there's a sock hop that they want to sell tickets to. And no, it was, Pastor, your son's down here, got caught shoplifting. Come on and pick him up. And speaking of the prodigal son, I don't remember getting a party that day.
No, your dad wasn't throwing you a party.
That wasn't his reaction, if I recall correctly. But as far as waiting goes for Amanda, I think a big part of it is just waiting for God to unfold it at his pace. He goes at his time, and sometimes that's slower than we want, but it's always the right time.
And it never looks like the way we think it should. And that's okay. When you look back on it, usually, like always, his way is always better than ours. All right, we got a little more with Jon. We'll get to some more questions in 10 minutes right here on The Wally Show. This is The Wally Show, and you can be part of it by going to allwally.com and asking your questions for Dear Jon. It's Jon Acuff from Stuff Christians Like. In his book, Quitter, we have him on the show answering questions about, like, Christian culture and stuff. So what do you got next?
Well, the next question comes from Seth Caves, and he says, Dear Jon, why do Christians feel the need to make fun of other Christians who try to make a difference in media? E.g., people giving Sherwood Films flack for Facing the Giants and Fireproof.
That's a tough one because, like, I make fun of a lot of things.
Sure you do.
Yeah,
It's a spiritual gift.
Yeah, it is. It really. Like, it's hard when that's what God made you good at.
A lot of people don't know that's a beatitude. Yeah. I think that's in the Message version of the Bible.
I think so.
Please keep going.
To live in a world like where you realize when you look at what your gifts are and, like, sarcasm is one of them, it's very tough to, like, because you can nowhere in the Bible find a justification for making fun of anything. I've looked, and you can't. But you have to then dissimulate it down to it's partly just our culture and our society and our sense of humor that God did create. And we do kind of poke fun at things, but hopefully making fun of something is to actually then sometimes make it better.
Well, and God does say to Moses when Moses is having trouble, is my arm too short? Now, was he asking Moses for a measurement of his arm, or is it possible that was a rhetorical, dare I say even sarcastic question?
Or was he talking to CeeLo? Because CeeLo has those tiny little arms. Have you ever noticed how short CeeLo's arms are?
They're like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
They're very deadly arms.
I can't scratch my ear.
Well, for me and Christian movies, I think there's two things. One, we'll give normal culture a free pass. We'll watch The Bachelor and go, that was amazing. And then we'll go, well, that Christian movie wasn't well made. You just watched The Bachelor. Neither was that. But the second thing is, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you should love every Christian film. That's like when somebody is single and they get introduced to somebody else and it's like, they're 40 years older than you, completely different values, but you're both Christian and you're both single, so why don't you date and maybe fall in love and not have the Paul gift of singleness anymore?
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's almost like you have to just check at the door any sort of artistic stuff because it has the Christian label. I don't think that's the case. I actually think we should be better at our craft and be more committed to what we do. And I will say this, like Sherwood Films, they're learning and they're getting better with every film they do. Yeah, like this show, like learning what I do for this show is completely different now than it was 10 years ago when I started, and I had to learn. And it's the same thing with them. Like I saw Courageous. Courageous is not a bad movie. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and the first time I came in the studio, there were things on fire in the corner. I mean, you are iterating.
I
things
am
are getting better and better.
I am really
you have your
getting
shirt
good.
on. I mean, it's just we're taking leaps and bounds.
We really are.
But you're right. I mean, Sherwood's been in existence for what, 10 years, 12 years? Then we look at, Century 21 or Fox, and they've been making movies, Warner Brothers, for 100 years. Like, let's give Sherwood some time to develop and mature.
Look at Spike Lee films. Those are ridiculous, honestly. Like his early films.
They're Spike Lee joints, is what he calls
them. Oh, that's right. That's my joint. But again, you give that guy a pass, as he's learning his craft. And I think it's the same thing with Christian movies. I think it's good that if you do point out things that can be better, I think that some of the humor helps make the product better. So we will take credit for Courageous being a better movie than
I guess
Fireproof.
That's what we're saying, is that in a lot of ways we contributed.
Yeah, so thank you, Sherwood Films. I want you to thank me in your acceptance speech at the Dove Awards.
An executive producer credit wouldn't kill you.
Yep. Dear John, we got him at allwally.com. You can ask your questions, and thanks a lot for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me.